Okay, welcome back, everyone. Build Out here. Very excited. This series has been going great. And so let's jump quickly into this week's questions. And so the questions, again, send them to Bill Dow at dowpublishingllc.com or check me out on Facebook at Dow Publishing. And let's jump into this week's questions. So, first question is, what are the hard skills for a project manager? So when you think about the hard skills of a project manager, you think about risk management, issue management, communications, building a project schedule, building an action item log, building a dependency log. These are the hard skills that a project manager has to have to successfully execute a project. So hard skills are very, very different from soft skills. And so let's jump into that. Question 2, what are the soft skills? Well, these are leadership. These are interpersonal skills. This is management without authority, influence without authority. So these are all that relationships and building relationships, right? This is how you drive a project. You drive a project through your team members, through connecting with your sponsors, connecting with your customers, building that great relationship with your team members, your customers, your sponsors, your executives, and those are really the soft side of things. So what are the difference between hard skills and soft skills? Very different, right? Building a project schedule, influence without authority, right? Building an action log is a hard skill, communications is a soft skill. So two very different sets of skills, all critical to make the components of a project manager. But again, really, really important to have those and really understand those differences, because both of those will help you be successful. Question 3, how do I onboard a team member into the PMO? I love this because I think every organization, and a PMO is no different, needs an onboarding guide. And so when you're bringing people into a PMO, they're going to need to know what are the rules, what are the processes, what are the tools. So I think every PMO needs an onboarding guide, and every PMO needs to bring a project manager through, or a program manager portfolio through that onboarding guide. I think it's really, really important that they have a series of steps and maybe even a 2 or 3 or 4 day timeline to expect the folks to go through. But when someone starts, they should have an onboarding guide and they should have that expectations laid out for them. And I think that's really, really important to drive that and make sure we have that in place. It just makes an easier transition and easier onboarding for new resources. And it also sets expectations. Hey, we want weekly status meetings. We want you to follow this methodology. We want you to load this software. Having those expectations for new team members, I think, is really a critical component. Question 4, how much does a PMO manager make? Wow, that's a loaded question. That, again, there's a ton of salary data out there. You can go to salary.com, you can go to Glassdoor, you can go to a variety of sources. But again, there's no standard answer to what a PMO manager is going to make. It's going to depend on the part of the country they live in, the part of the world they live in. What industry are they working for? Manufacturing. So a PMO manager at Boeing may be very different than a PMO manager at a local retail store or a real estate firm, right? And so that's kind of a loaded question. It's really hard for me to answer that, but I do think that that it's a good question. But I think you got to do your research online and then understand where you are in the market conditions. This came up from one of my customers because they were looking to interview at a PMO for a PMO manager job, and they were saying, "Hey, how much should I make, and how much should I be asking for salary?" And I told them to go out there and do their research in the local Seattle area. You know, $140, $150 a year is a pretty reasonable price for a PMO manager. But I told them to do the research. And so depending on where you live and what your market conditions are, I strongly suggest you do your own research through salary.com, Glassdoor, Monster, that type of thing. And finally, the 5th question is, what are the future of PMOs? And that's a loaded question as well. And I think it's a great question because everyone wants to know where we go and where we're heading. And I think there's a lot of aspects. I don't think PMOs are going away anytime soon. I see them in that 3 to 5 year cycle. They come, they go, they come, they go. But when you think about the future of PMO, it's going to be about dashboarding. It'll be about a business value, what values the PMOs bring into your customers. How do we use software like Teams more, and how do we get more of that, that good collaboration? And I think PMOs play a big part of that. PMOs play a big part of Power BI dashboards or dashboarding. So there's a great future for PMOs. They're not going away anytime soon. Agile PMOs are jumping and really coming on board fast as well. And so I think there's a great future and a great history of PMOs, and just keep watching the material I'm putting out. I'm always putting out new and exciting stuff around PMOs. So it's a great question. I forgot who asked me that. I think it was one of my customers, but I'm not totally sure. But thank you all again, and I will see you online, and keep sending in the questions. Email BillDow at DowPublishingLLC.com, and thank you all very much. Thanks. Bye.